The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
You're listening to In the Corner with BenNny Mack.
Acknowledge me!
Unfiltered.
Your daddy's not here anymore.
Uncensored.
This kid is an absolute piece of... Watch your mouth, Michael Cole!
And unforgiving.
He's on the line. We get that. But you listen to me, and you listen to me good, Mr. Midlife Crisis.
Here's the man in the corner, BenNny Mack.
Welcome back to In the Corner. So much going on in WWE this past week. Money in the Bank, not that far away. Shaping up to be a good show. And much like you will hear Sunday for our bonus episode, yes, we have a bonus episode out on SJP Raw Media on Sunday. From across the pond, the tag team partner is back. His name is Tyler. How are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic, BenNny. I want everybody to acknowledge In the Corner because of BenNy Mack. I would say myself, heck, I am going to say because we're together. It's just going to be a lot of fun. And seriously, BenNny, thank you for having me join you once again. It's been too long, man.
Yeah, man.
I have missed joining you.
I appreciate it, man. You've been a good friend to the show. Like I said, you're a co-host. You're not just a guest host. You're a co-host of this show. You are welcome on here anytime, at any point. As I said at the top of the show, we have got a bonus episode coming out on Sunday here on SJP Raw Media. Myself and NJB team up in a triple threat to chat about some, because Money in the Bank's coming up, isn't it, Tyler? So we sat down and chatted about some Money in the Bank moments, what we thought of the concept when it came out, and what we think of it now, and some of our favourite moments. But that's for Sunday. But for today, I've always said I want to get the show on a Wednesday. Now, luckily, this show will come out Wednesday, but you're going to have to keep an eye on the X at In the Corner WWE, because the shows will come out when they come out, basically. But they will at least, hopefully, like I said before, ladies and gents, once a week. Aiming for Wednesday, but sometimes that won't happen. Luckily, this week, Tyler was free, NJB was free, and we got a bonus episode out of it. So I thank you very much both for doing that. I know you were here, Tyler. Nick's not, but thank you very much for doing that. It was good fun.
It was a blast, and Nick was incredible. You're always terrific, BenNny, and I tried my best. I'm a rookie. What can I say?
No.
Seriously, it was a good time. I'm trying to do a comedy hour for some reason right now, and I'm just so darn excited to be joining my friend from across the pond in the UK. It's hotter than I don't know what in both the countries, and we're running fans. And hey, the good thing is we can talk about Money in the Bank. It is getting closer, and there's a lot to discuss, BenNny.
Absolutely, there's so much going on. We're going to talk about this bit about SmackDown. We're going to basically dive into the highlights for ourselves from SmackDown and Raw this past week. Obviously, SmackDown is going to be on Friday. Next Saturday, Money in the Bank. So it's almost, the weather makes it feel like SummerSlam almost, but it's not. But it's Money in the Bank. But I'm very much looking forward to Money in the Bank and the way it's shaping up. But I think we can't really. Well, I think we have to. Do we have to start the show? I think we've got to with the debut of Jacob Fatu, right?
I think we have to. It's the talk of everybody's wanting to learn more about. Jacob Fatu debuting. I think we've got to go to it. You're the host. I'm only the co-host, but you segued, so. Well,
there we go, yeah. But, yeah, Jacob Fatu makes his debut. This has been a name I've been hearing for a good year and a half, probably, to be honest with you, Tyler. There was talk about him debuting probably maybe 2 years ago.
There's been a lot of rumors about the possibilities of Jacob Fatu coming to WWE. That was a mouthful, and becoming a part of the Bloodline. I think before possibly the Bloodline storyline even became a thing, and it's very interesting. It seems like he was built up on the internet before he even showed up. for WWE. I hope that makes sense. I mean, it really seems that way.
I feel for myself. I feel like I heard his name mentioned when Roman was still, air quotes, head of the table. So it might even been before that. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like that's. But yeah, I don't know a great deal about himself.
Yeah.
Where you said you knew a little. Where has he been wrestling? I'm guessing all over the world. But where did you say he was?
He was formerly in MLW. I don't know a whole lot about Jacob Fatu, but I know he's one bad man. He was in a rivalry with Hammerstone, who a lot of people thought was going to go to WWE, and he may still. I believe Hammerstone has since been in TNA Impact. He's had some great matches with other people, but that's one that was a lot of people were buzzing about with MLW. Jacob Fatu, I believe he's called the Samoan Werewolf. I'm not sure if I got that correct. So let me tell you, I think there was a video of a fan trying to get in the ring or smack talk, and Fatu just demolishes him. It's a lesson. You can join and be entertained. Just don't join the entertainment. But Fatu is one bad MFer, and I'm not trying to cuss, but that's the way to say it. He is. He's a bad man, and he's going to do great for WWE. I don't really know his history, is what I'm getting at. Of course, like we all do, I'm getting down another trail without meaning to, but this guy is just legit. I mean, at Samoan family, and I'm saying that out of respect, Benny. For the woodwork, I mean, there's such a large family tree. When The Rock showed that family tree, if people did not get a chance to watch that WrestleMania press conference, I mean, that's true. That's legit. That's how many family members there are out of the bloodline. I mean, so it's really remarkable. I can't remember how he's related. I'm afraid I'll screw it up, so I'm just going to say he's kin. It's real. He's kin.
Well, I'll tell you what we will do. We're definitely going to be watching to see what he does next, and we'll do a bit more research on him as we go. But I've heard this name a few times. I was under the impression that it was probably not on the cards at one point, but obviously it was. I think I said to you off air that Solo Sikoa has always reminded me a little bit of Umaga. Obviously, he's doing the Samoan Spike and stuff. But the look of Jacob Fatu was like, oh, this guy looks more like Umaga. Maybe it's the dreads. I don't know. But he looked vicious. I was watching him make his debut, and I'm like, I think he climbed the top rope at one point, and I'm like, please don't mess up because this could be ruined. But no, people are starting to dub this the Bloodline 2.0. I said a while back that maybe we're going to see the original Bloodline versus the new Bloodline, and I think that's what we're kind of, at least I'm hoping that's what we're getting. War Games is a long way away. That would be my assumption on that, Tyler. But imagine Roman, the Usos coming back together to deal with, but then this new Bloodline 2.0 has to be more of an issue. Obviously, they've taken out Jimmy anyway. Jey Uso's relatively safe at the moment, if you can call it safe with what's going on Raw with Wyatt SICKS, but we'll get into that, away from them. So, at some point, I don't know, it's amazing to me that, not amazing, but we talked about it on the Money in the Bank show, but the fact that everybody wanted Roman to lose and Cody to win and all that stuff, and now we're hearing we want Roman chants. Indirect, I would say, not at Cody, but in a sense of they don't want Solo Sikoa being the head of the table, and the fans are rejecting him as head of the table, as they should. So they make some heels, but by proxy, that's making Roman a face, right?
Yeah, I think he's got to come back as a face, Benny. To your point, I think that's what this is building to. I think, I don't want to say it's obvious, but sometimes you can just see it organically, and we've mentioned this so many times on the podcast, that Solo is becoming this new head of the table. He's claiming that he's still got connections with Roman. He's trying to intimidate Paul Heyman on SmackDown from what we saw in the segments, and trying to, I think, confuse Heyman a little bit. And it makes you wonder, is Heyman pulling the strings? What's Roman going to do when he comes back? There's all these details that are going to be so important and key elements to the overall story arc of what we're seeing, how far the Bloodlines came, this new Bloodline 2.0. I like how you worded it. I think The Rock's going to be involved. I think he's, because he and Cody still have some unfinished business. So I think The Rock could come back to lead Solo's group. It may be Solo having to down the Ford as the new head of the table, and it may appear like it's Roman, but I think it may be The Rock.
Wow,
That's where we'll get Rock versus Roman. I'm not sure. That may be just fantasy booking for me because we've been teased the match, but it makes sense because The Rock didn't really do the finger right. If you notice, and Bully Ray, credit to him. Speaking on Busted Open, so that leaves a lot to ponder about. Is The Rock going to come back? He's already came back as the heel. But think about a babyface Roman Reigns, though, taking on a heel Rock with a whole nother bloodline in his bloodline. I mean, like you just said, I think that makes sense, and I think that's where we're headed. It just seems like they keep teasing it.
I never
like how they're not rushing it.
Yeah, I never even contemplated that Rock could be the one after Roman's loss, could be pulling the strings with Solo. That is very, and obviously you've already pointed out the finger, the holding the acknowledgement finger up like they do with the index finger, but putting the thumb out to make an L. Everybody, I think we even speculated that maybe Rock would be the person to cost Roman the title, or at least help, but it wasn't. So actually, what you just brought up there, Tyler, is brilliant, because having The Rock, do you know what? I want that now. I hadn't even thought of that, and I cannot believe I hadn't thought of that. So actually, Rock is pulling the strings backstage, so to speak, via a bit like Roman used to do, where he used to disappear for a little bit, and maybe they could start introducing that, where Solo might look, or maybe have Tongaloa or Tomatonga show Solo a phone, and then Solo goes, right, we're going to do this tonight, and have that play in a few times, and actually then you realise that The Rock is the one pulling the strings with Solo, maybe, to take control of to be the head of the table in The Rock and to be the head of the family. I love that.
It makes sense to me. And another thing too, Benny, Cody Rhodes is not lost in the grand scheme of things. They're targeting him for a reason, going back to the Bloodline, especially Solo's version. I think The Rock, we're still going to get a match between Cody and Rock. Cody will still be involved somehow, some way, without being in the Bloodline business, because they're still Solo's trying to handle Cody, and of course here I go again. I need a rewind button, but it all kind of ties in, so you can't help but bring it up. If you notice on SmackDown, Heyman told Solo, "Listen, you don't need to handle Cody." And Solo's starting to get more confident. You can tell as head of the table, he's speaking more, and he's assuring Heyman that he's kind of not taking all his advisement like Roman does. So I like the differences already.
Yeah,
we're seeing portrayed on television.
Poor Heyman almost feels like he's trapped. He can't really go anywhere, which was evident with the opening of SmackDown. We'll get into is CM Punk comes out. Obviously, I was assuming he was going to tell us he was cleared to wrestle. That was obviously It was in Chicago, and that didn't quite happen. He goes into a bit of a promo about Drew and what's been going on with those two, and he's quit. And I can't believe it was that easy that Drew quit. Paul Heyman comes out. I love seeing these two, seeing Paul Heyman and CM Punk together. There's obviously a history there built into that straight away. Those who've watched it will know what happened, but basically Paul Heyman's like, I've come to do you a favour if you can do me a favour. Basically, Solo is coming, and if they see you here, they want every town to be their town, so he's gonna, basically they're coming for you. It's basically the gist of it. Before CM Punk can really say anything, well, he says, "Are you alright, Paul? You don't look alright." And they hug, which was a nice moment. And then Solo and the Bloodline and the rest of Tomatonga and Tongaloa come out, and I tell you what, if those two boys are half as tough as their old man Haku, then the locker room's in trouble, which we've already seen to a degree. But
nobody stands a chance.
Before, so Solo's basically saying, "You need to acknowledge me, or we're going to get you." Basically, CM Punk doesn't even acknowledge him. Really, kind of puts his hand out and says, "Paul, what did you want to ask me?" And Paul Heyman says, "Can you take me with you?" Well, I'm like, oh my god! So he is publicly announced, basically said, "I don't want to be with Solo and this version of Bloodline." Basically, it ended up being a bit of a little late. We're going to beat down CM Punk, thanks to Cody Rhodes with a couple of baseball bats. CM Punk has the baseball bat, so does Cody, and they hold them off. And then we basically have the setup for Solo versus Cody in the main event, basically. So it was a good moment, and the story built in with CM Punk and Paul Heyman. And one more thing before I get to you, Tyler, it was the bit backstage that there was an agreement put in place apparently between Roman and Paul Heyman that CM Punk was off limits because CM Punk is special to Paul Heyman.
Interesting.
I mean, it's just like, and obviously we've already spoke about Jacob Fatu coming in, so we know how the night kind of ended. I will get to the main event quickly and just say that it was a good match between Cody versus Sober. It ended in a no contest, basically. And then we have Randy Orton getting involved and KO trying to get involved and stuff like that. But ultimately, the Bloodline 2.0 are standing tall over Cody and and Randy and KO. But they mentioned on last week's show that Randy was looking at that WWE title of Cody's on his shoulder after the Clash of the Castle. So I'm wondering when that's going to be put into play. But we'll see. I mean, any thoughts on CM Punk since he's been back, Tyler? Because I not really spoke to you, and also what you think about the whole agreement between Roman and Paul Heyman to keep away from CM Punk.
I think you can tell when a star like CM Punk is happy, and the creative is making sense, and he's able to mend fences. I think that's significant. And he's back home. It was cool seeing him in AEW. It was cool seeing him other places, but let's be real. WWE was where CM Punk became a star. No offense to Ring of Honor. He did some great things down there. I'm taking nothing away from his work there. You can tell it was a homecoming back at Survivor Series last year. Stuff with Drew has been absolutely terrific. I know we'll touch on it a little more. It was very fascinating seeing Paul Heyman and CM Punk together. I like how we didn't see that automatically. You let it build, or you wait for the right moment in your stories for the particular show. And both those guys can talk. They're articulate. It's going to be just a fantastic opening segment. It's a great way to open up the show. And you explained it perfectly, Paul Heyman embracing CM Punk, but thus setting him up in a way, or it appeared that way. Maybe he didn't. Solo's doing his own thing. Heyman doesn't always know what's going on. Let's be fair to Paul Heyman in that aspect. But to see that Heyman made the agreement, like you were saying, Benny, or the agreement with Roman, pardon me, where CM Punk's off limits, it almost makes you wonder if we're not going to see Heyman managing CM Punk down the road at some point, or maybe Punk helps out Roman Reigns or Paul Heyman. What are the chances?
It could be a favor.
I mean, that's crazy to think about, but it can make sense now.
There could be a favor
due to the
called
history.
in. Yeah, there could be a favor called in at some point for whatever reason. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. I love the idea that you've come up with it's actually The Rock, pulling the strings with Solo. That makes perfect sense now. I cannot believe I hadn't even thought of that. In my head, I'm going, I can't wait to see Rock Cody, because I'm assuming that's going to happen at some point. But actually, that would be a bigger underlying evil sort of thing to do, wouldn't it? And if the Rock has done amazing as that heel coming back, who would have thought that he would have been
it would be
a heel now? But it was brilliant. So I want more of it.
The Rock wants to undermine Roman because he saw it's life imitating art. He was the big Hollywood star, but yet he sees WWE getting momentum again, and he sees Roman Reigns, even though realistically he's probably happy, storyline wise, he's getting a little jealous of Roman. You would think it would be the other way around. There's a lot you could do with it. I'm excited just talking about it.
Well, what's Rock? A seven-time world champion? So
I think so.
Which
you're good on the stats.
Yeah, I maybe 8. I think it's 7. But Roman, multiple-time champion. I'm not sure how many he's actually held, but his legacy is going to be, because he's like third in the. Is he third now in the overall rankings of longest reigns? So that's something to be.
I think he may be third.
So where this number used to mean, no, don't get me wrong, Ric Flair, 16-time world champion. Is it 16 times? Yeah, of course it is. Now it's about how long you can keep the title for, which I've always thought should have been a thing anyway. But it did lose that meaning at some point in wrestling, didn't it? Yeah, I'm a champion. How many times have you been champion? Oh, 5 times, 6 times, 9 times? No. How long have you held the title for? Oh, I held it for like 3 months here, 2 months there, 4 months there, 5 months there. If you could, collective time is going to be a long time, but for someone to hold the championship for over 3 years, in this day and age, with our attention span being what it is and social media and all that shit, is damn near impossible to do. And they did it. And so, yeah. Before we move on to Raw, quickly, I just want to go... I mean, we've already talked about it. I've got to mention... I'll mention this quickly. So Andrade has qualified for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Beating out Grayson Waller and Kevin Owens. Good match. Good matches, actually, to be honest with you. Carmelo Hayes has qualified. It seems like the Money in the Bank ladder matches... I mean, apart from at least on the men's side so far, I mean, I could be wrong. At least people that have never been champion before so far. Which is good.
I like that. I think it's good every now and then to give like Carmelo Hayes, fresh off NXT, and Andrade, who just recently returned from AEW, some important victories. And because they're kind of stuck, let me go back. You don't want them to be stuck in the mid card too long. This may be a good way to elevate some new main event talent down the road. So I think Money in the Bank's a good outlet for that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's good to... Who's going to actually win it? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see who wins said matches. So, and on the women's side, we've got Chelsea Green qualifying on SmackDown, which I didn't expect. We have Io Sky, and we're going to talk Raw anyway. Valkyria, is it? Has also...
Yeah, Valkyria.
Yeah, doing really well. Lyra Valkyria. I can never remember her first name. That's the problem.
No, I never know how to say it. I can practice the thing 100 times, so I'm always a little cautious. But yeah, Lyra, that's correct.
Yeah.
Valkyria, and she has been, like you said, very impressive. Her Baszler, the kicks that Baszler had, and I know we're jumping to Raw a little bit, taking on Kairi Sane. I mean, hey, I can't say enough about Baszler's kicks. And Lyra, that Nightwing finisher on Kairi Sane was amazing. I love these new finishers. Going back to Andrade, the Messenger, it's like a variation of a DDT, but it's kind of a jumping DDT, it looks like.
Yeah, 100%, man. Andrade, with that elbow that he gives as well, standing elbow that he does, which I think Jericho started using in AEW.
Oh, man.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, that kind of like the Judas effect, where you kind of turn.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah,
that's all you say right there. That elbow. No, I'm glad you brought that up brought it up. Pardon, because I mean it looks good when it's done right, and they definitely both Jericho and Andrade do a great job with it.
We got to mention it before we move on to Raw. So after CM Punk does this whole thing. He's now, he's left, he's gone. There's an interview going on backstage, and I believe with, Grayson Waller. I think Johnny Gargano. Yes, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and Grayson Waller. Gargano calling out Grayson Waller on the fact that he, Austin Theory, keeps saving him from kicks and punches and whatever else, and you do nothing for him, basically. And then all of a sudden, the steel shutters they have in these big arenas that some of you might know from factory work or whatever, but like you just hear wallop against on the outside, and the was it Kayla Braxton, I think, was doing the interview. They kind of dispersed.
I think so.
And the door comes up, and CM Punk's led there in a bloody mess, and I mean a bloody mess, ladies and gentlemen. And then I can't, even though I've whinged about this in terms of people turning up on shows they shouldn't be. Now CM Punk, the only reason I said was, yeah, it's in Chicago, so I get it. But also he's injured at the moment. Yes, he's a Raw guy, but he is injured at the moment. Drew allegedly quit on Monday, but actually we all knew that was let's face it, we all knew that he hadn't really quit. Drew McIntyre is beating down Punk, basically he's bleeding, and dumps him outside takes him through all Gorilla and everything out into the stage, dumps him on the floor on SmackDown. which adds another layer to this. This rivalry between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre is getting more and more personal, and it does even more on Raw, which we'll move on to in a minute. But I've already said this before, but I'm assuming Punk is probably not 100% yet. Maybe he's not quite there yet, hence why they've done this. But even if he is and they've done this is brilliant. Now, my prediction for this was CM Punk was going to enter Money in the Bank. Drew had disappeared and AKA quit, but then Drew would cost Punk the Money in the Bank briefcase. But Drew McIntyre is now entering, allegedly, or trying to. So maybe CM Punk costs him the Money in the Bank as well, and we'll eventually get that match, I assume, at SummerSlam.
I think you're onto something about CM Punk cost Drew McIntyre at Money in the Bank. I'm not sure of the timeline on Punk's injury. I think they've utilized him great going back to WrestleMania. Damian Priest has cashed in on Drew McIntyre. Now Drew McIntyre's able to get his revenge because we've seen Punk mess with McIntyre to cost him some other important matches and, you could say, opportunities. I really like the personal aspect of Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. It's getting better and better, and it was already good. It's getting great, and I think I don't know if you read about it, but there was a interview, I think, where Triple H said when the Netflix deal happens with Monday Night Raw that it's not going to be very PG anymore. We're already seeing a lot of teases with more of the edgier content. So I think this is right up there with it, with showing more of the blood. We're seeing Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, take more liberties from a storyline point of view, and it's not only been good television, but it's just been very riveting because it was true what McIntyre was saying, that CM Punk was not very nice to him when he was first with WWE, and now it makes the payback seem so much more real because you could see where there would be tension, that they're able to work together. But like you say, personal issues is what makes wrestling so good.
I mean, in terms of the blood and the PG stuff, you don't need to have blood every week or anything like that, but add to that realism. And I think that's what's helped. The way they've... Now, obviously, was Punk injured before Rumble? Apparently not. I don't know. But he hasn't really had any matches since the Rumble, obviously, because being injured. But the way they've booked him and the way they've kept this story going, it's one of the things I look forward to seeing every week on the card, on Raw, because... I'm not going to say it's on the same level of it by any stretch, but it's very clever, and it's very similar to what they did with Austin when he had his neck injury, but they still had him turning up on TV and causing trouble. Now, this has been back and forth between Drew and CM Punk, but it's a good way of... Again, I'm still interested in what happens going forward.
Me too. It keeps you, like you just said, interested in what Punk's doing, even though he's sidelined. I mean, he's still able to take some physicality, so... maybe sideline's not the right word, but we know he's injured. You can kind of get away with him taking a beat down by Drew McIntyre or being at ringside, utilizing him in various ways, and Drew additionally. It's got me balled into not only what the Bloodline is doing, but it's Drew McIntyre CM Punk saga that is unfolding right before our eyes on a weekly basis, or at least every other week, or doing a premium live event. Or it could be a social media video.
Yeah, it's just anything.
The way
really.
They can use social media now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's good. And SmackDown every week, I think, generally had been the better show, I feel personally. But I think Raw is definitely, and I think apparently I read on that Netflix thing, because you bring it up, apparently it's going to go down to 2 hours as well when it hits Netflix. It's not going to be a 3-hour show. Now, whether that's true, I don't know.
Which I'm glad. Yeah, and not that I hate the 3 hours, but I think it's such a marathon, regardless of whether it's good or not. I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but I think they can do all they need to do in 2 hours, to be honest.
Yeah, and then it'll make the PLEs feel special when they're like 3.5 hours long, because you get that extra hour and a half or so.
Right, you can give them time.
Exactly, yeah. And I feel the matches on Raw, I don't know about yourself, but the matches on Raw for a while now have had they don't feel rushed anymore. Not really. I've observed more matches that don't feel rushed now than compared to what it used to be. And as I said previously, sometimes matches felt like they were confined to that segment, or even were somewhat not associated with the universe in a weird way. Like, what's this match for? Like,
it felt like it was just there.
It was just there.
But
yeah,
what's
exactly.
the meaning? Why do I need to watch it? Why do I need to pay attention and even have a care in the world? And now I've seen it change, and I'm not just knocking somebody because it's a previous era of management.
Yeah.
I think Triple H, you can tell, just has a relationship with a lot of the people that come out of NXT. He's been in WWE for so long. I think he's earned people's trust or respect or confidence. A lot of the producers and agents are able to know what works and what doesn't, and they've learned from any mistakes, and they're still going to make mistakes. It's not a perfect formula by any means, but whatever they're doing is clicking, and it's been that way for the past couple of years since Triple H has took over reigns, pardon the pun, from Roman, but control creatively, and it's all his team, and it's all the talent that we see on a weekly basis. Maybe you attend a house show, you can't watch it, you get to see it live.
Yeah.
It's a testament to his creativity, to him knowing wrestling. I mean, this guy, he's the game, but he's often been referred to as a student of the game, and you're seeing why.
He's a fan, isn't he? First and foremost, I think, and always has been. And the way he ran NXT for those few years, more than a few years, you could almost call, when it was the black and gold brand, it was the golden era of NXT, because it was the matches, the PLEs they did, the pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them. The matches were good. It was more about the story within the confines of the 20 by 20 ring, but also the backstage segments on NXT felt like they were important, even to the point where stuff on Raw and SmackDown feel like that way now. Like they don't feel just like filler anymore. There's always something going on in the background.
Everything seems fluid. To your observation, Benny, all the backstage segments, the matches, like you were just aforementioning, are all relatable. It's not like we're just, like you're saying, we're throwing in something that doesn't make sense or doesn't have a reason to be on the show.
Yeah.
To where there's logic. Hello, that's all we need.
Yeah,
where we can understand it. Yeah,
absolutely. See, now I talked about this before, but like the way things flow and kind of work together and stuff. Now, there's so much going on here, but so I got to talk about Bron Breakker. Sami Zayn and Bron Breakker have agreed to a match in Money in the Bank for the Intercontinental Championship. The last couple of weeks, Ludwig Kaiser has cost Bron Breakker a match, or this week it was Sheamus costing him the match, attacking Ludwig Kaiser. So there's an ongoing dispute, rivalry going on between Ludwig Kaiser and Sheamus, but it's affected Bron Breakker. He goes to Adam Pearce, says, "I want a title match." Sami stood behind him and says, "You want it? You asked for it." And and so we're having the Intercontinental Championship be defended at Money in the Bank. Sami Zayn versus Bron Breakker. Now Bron Breakker's been on a tearaway pretty much since NXT, and he's carried that over perfectly to the main roster so far, which is saying a lot, because a lot of stars tended to lose their way when they came from NXT for whatever reason, or didn't work on the main roster for whatever reason. Whether it's them or whether it was management, I have no idea. But but Bron Breakker seems to be doing really well. I mean, what are your thoughts on Bron Breakker?
Bron Breakker has been fantastic so far. I mean, I loved what I was able to see in NXT, and the guy's gonna not only be a champion, he's already proven he can be a potential face for their company. Bron Breakker has all the tools, and it's showing. And let me tell you, he's got the intensity. I love how you put him out there on a SmackDown or Raw, and you let him squash some people, and then build him up to where he's facing stars like a Kaiser, and then having Sheamus involved, and now he's in the mix for Sami Zayn's Intercontinental title. Here's something I'm noticing, and I'm sure you have, Benny, is the other titles are meaning more, whether it's the United States Championship or the Intercontinental title, or they've often been referred to as the working belts. Well, to me, and the tag titles and the women's belts are all resonating and connecting with the audiences, the fans, just like we are. We're fans, and that, to me, that's a compliment. And I'm taking nothing away from previous management. Like you say, we don't know. From what I'm viewing, it's been a great positive to see these belts have some new talent like a Brian Breaker in the mix, Sami Zayn, and now Sheamus since his return. I kind of like it. It makes sense why he needed to interfere, because you could make this a triple threat, or at least they're teasing it, possibly for Money in the Bank.
Well, it seems to be at the moment it will be Sami versus Braun, but I actually thought, like yourself, I thought maybe Ludwig, Sheamus, Braun, and Sami, and there was going to be a fatal four-way, but obviously...
Oh, fatal four-way. Yeah, I can see
that's what I thought
happening as well.
That's what I thought may happen, but it's at the moment it doesn't seem that way. At the moment it's scheduled for Braun, and but the argument is there that technically, people are getting involved in his matches, so maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe we need to see Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser, get Ludwig Kaiser up and running maybe as a singles competitor, because that's what it seems to be at the moment. Gunther obviously is the King General, I think they're calling him at the moment. Obviously won King of the Ring, has a guaranteed shot at SummerSlam against the world champion, whoever that may be. That's Damian Priest and Seth Rollins are competing for the championship. Money in the Bank, that's been locked in. I see a graphic for that. That is actually happening. So, we're going to do a pre-show of talking about Money in the Bank and our predictions and stuff anyway. But we'll get into that as by then we should have more of the card filled out as well. Just to bring a bit of criticism to it, not that I want to, but because I want to be sat here going, this is amazing, this is great. But I've got to, separately we'll talk about them, but Karrion Kross defeated Kofi Kingston, his first win in a while, by what I can tell. And Karrion Kross in AOP, I loved AOP in NXT days. Paul Ellering come back as well. I love to see the fact that Paul Ellering's back with him. And I don't dislike Karrion Kross, but I've yet to be overly impressed with the group, the Final Testament. Obviously we talked about Damage Control when they first started, and they seemed to flounder a little bit at one point, and then it just seemed to flip and it worked. Hopefully that will happen for Final Testament. What's your thoughts on Final Testament, Tyler, and Karrion Kross in AOP?
I think at first it was promising. Unfortunately, like you're saying, with Damage Control, a lot of these different illustrations over time, they do flounder. There seems to be a down period. I'm really hoping, though, for their sake, that especially you mentioned Paul Ellering, AOP, with Karrion Kross, Scarlett, it'll come together, and they'll regain the momentum they've possibly lost. Boy, can I talk. But let me tell you, Kofi Kingston, I like how it's bringing out some aggression from him and New Day, because they could be a little cartoonish. I didn't mind it at times, but we're getting into a new era, so I think it makes sense why they're showing more of their grit, their attitude, and I like it. I didn't mind the distraction, because you could kind of explain it well. Ellering's on the Titantron. Kofi sees Xavier Woods get beat up, so that would make you seem to take your focus off of your opponent. And but as far as the story with the Final Testament, I'm with you. There's going to be some ups and downs, but I'm hoping, because I kind of like these type of gimmicks if they're done right, and I'm not saying they're not. Sometimes even with great creative, not everything works. But hey, I appreciate the critiques, and yeah, there's going to be things, hey, we don't enjoy or we just need to be patient with. I'm still waiting to see more of the Final Testament. I think we're only seeing so much, and
yeah,
I don't know. Karrion Kross has been a mystery, though. You're right, because got kind of ruined with that bad gimmick when he first got on the main roster. Then he finally was able to get rid of that, and he's got a lot of talent, and he's a big dude. He's very intimidating. It's just, I don't know, something's not clicking, though. I think that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah, I don't know
from the fans that want to get behind him.
Yeah, I like the idea of the group. I like AOP. What's not to like in Scarlett, obviously, but it's just like.
Oh well, hey, let's be honest. Yeah, Scarlett's a bombshell.
Hell yeah, but it's just hopefully this is a turnaround here. But now there's a bit underlying story going on. Me and NJB picked up on this last week, where the the challenge was actually put more towards Xavier Woods, but Kofi Kingston answered, and something we noticed while we were watching the interview backstage, that it said Kofi Kingston with Xavier Woods. It didn't say the New Day. And I know Big E's out of the picture now and stuff, unfortunately. It does see, and obviously Xavier Woods wearing a black shirt. Yes, he got beaten up backstage, but did he? Well, we saw it, but we've seen that before where people have been beat up, and it's been but it seems like we're seeing, again, maybe me and Edge are reading too much into this. If you think the same, let us know on any of these topics at InTheCorner WWE on X. But it seems like Xavier Woods and Kofi there will be some sort of like dissension between them two eventually. It seems like it. And Kofi Kingston stepping forward and going, I'll take on the challenge, even though it seemed like Cross was challenging Woods rather than Kofi. So, interesting going forward.
No, you bring up some compelling points. Maybe he didn't get beat up. I didn't even think about it because I was just they created a good illusion that he was. So
either that or he did get beat up, and then Xavier or just blame Kofi and say, "Where were you?" Even though he's having a match. Yeah, and
I would like to see him blame Kofi because I don't think Woods would be a good fit with the Final Testament. But I see what you're saying. It may be a way to separate them eventually.
Yeah, 100%. Men's Money in the Bank qualifying. We had Chad Gable, and this is going to lead us into what we're going to talk about mainly about on this show for the Raw side of things. Chad Gable defeats Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. Great moonsault by Chad Gable. I've said on the show, me and you have said about Chad Gable before, we've been such a fan of his work. Obviously, more lately, he was very horrible towards Otis and Alpha Academy. Very quickly, he did win the match. Obviously, he was involved in that Wyatt SICKS story where he got taken out the previous week. The match ends, and then we have the lights go out. We have the piano playing. We have the smoke filling up the arena. We have Nikki Cross in this, I assume, Sister Abigail. I'm assuming at this point. I think we're all on spot on with that. And she gives Michael Cole a videotape which has Pat McAfee's name on it, apparently, and not the videotape, the box. On the tape it says, "Play me." And I love the fact that Michael Cole had to say, we're going to have to try and find someone with a VHS player to play this tape, which they did about an hour later. First off, Chad Gable qualifying for Money in the Bank. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm all for it. I'm a big supporter of Chad Gable. He's got everything that you want in a wrestler, a star, essentially. And you said it, his moonsault's just out of this world. I mean, the guy's just so athletic, but also a legit, amateur Olympian, not just amateur Olympian wrestler. And I'm glad he qualified. I think Chad Gable, a lot of people were disappointed he didn't get to become Intercontinental Champion. But his time will come. I think this may be a good way to get him more in a main event type situation with the Money in the Bank, qualifying for it against Big Bronson Reed. And what transpired afterwards, I tell you, Nikki Cross with his Sister Abigail character, whoever's doing her makeup or the get-up, and who better to play anybody that's went crazy or a darker character than Nikki Cross? It suits her. I mean, she's perfect. I mean, her work here, and Gable selling it was just masterful. Chad Gable is alive. We thought he was not going to come back, but hey, it's all in the stories and the Wyatt SICKS. This has been very, very riveting with this new Wyatt SICKS group.
Well, we're going to get into a bit more of that, I think, but so far, who's qualified for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match is Chad Gable, Jey Uso, Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. Now, Drew McIntyre is pushing to be in the match and says that he shouldn't have to qualify, but apparently everybody has to qualify according to Adam Pearce. That's fine. So we've still got 2 spots left in the men's. I'm not sure who is going to fill that at the moment. Based on the people that are in it, I'm not going to go too much into predictions, but based on the people we see in this right now, Jey Uso's got to be the favourite, I would assume, to win men's Money in the Bank this year.
Yeah, Jey Uso, definitely could win it. I mean, he's got the crowd behind him. I mean, that's a huge understatement. If Drew's in it, that would change things. According to how that goes, we just talked about Gable. I would not be mad if Gable would end up winning it. But with all due respect to everybody, Jey Uso would benefit the most, I think, out of some of the mid-carders. It would come down to him or Gable, really. But I would be fine with Jey Uso winning. I think between him and Gable, and of course, I don't know, Carmelo Hayes is in it, though, too. I like kind of seeing the younger guys get a chance, though, too. Yeah. That makes it more interesting. That would be pretty cool.
We'll get a prediction show out. Don't worry about it. We will do it. Obviously, hopefully, if you start
I've got to be careful because I want to get into prediction mode. And that's my fault. I kind of want to
I said it. I said it. It's fine. But, what we're seeing so far, obviously, is I think Cody will be at the Money in the Bank, but I believe Cody Rhodes is joining forces with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens against the Bloodline in a 6-man tag, I assume. But again, we'll get into that next week before the show. Our predictions of Money in the Bank, but it's shaping up to be quite good. Like, Lara Valkyria is qualified. We still got 3 women to slot into that Money in the Bank match as well. I would actually, do you know what? Lyra Valkyria has done really well. But how annoying would Chelsea Green be? How annoying would Chelsea Green be as Miss Money in the Bank? Honestly, I think that would be brilliant. Personally,
I think I'm for Chelsea Green. I like Lyra Valkyria a whole lot, but I think Chelsea Green, she would be very annoying. I'm just going to borrow from what you were saying.
In an entertaining way.
She's got the attitude. Yeah, and the way she robbed Bianca Belair was great on SmackDown against Michin or Mia Kim, however you want to call her. Was great. That's a heel move. Why not?
Yeah, but again, we'll wait till the field fills out a bit more so we can actually, we'll get our predictions in. It's been a while since we've done one of those, but we will do it.
Boy, it has been a while. I forgot what a prediction show is almost. My goodness.
Before we get... Now, it's all kind of interlinked a little bit, but before we get into the Wyatt SICKS stuff they did this past week on Raw with Bo Dallas, was absolutely brilliant. But I've got to talk about the Liv Morgan Judgment Day Dom thing. This has been entertaining for me. The stuff this week was good. You have Zelina Vega involved in it as well. Then Rey Mysterio comes out when Liv and Zelina get fighting because Liv's given Dom a load of presents and a PlayStation and some other stuff. She's wearing a Daddy's Girl t-shirt now as well, which is like, what the heck. I don't know if you saw Liv Morgan doing the hack tour thing that's going around on TikTok at the moment with that woman. I don't know if you've seen that.
I don't think I have, but I know it's been a big meme.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
But basically saying that. So a week ago, I think it was, there was a room key left, which then suddenly disappeared, and then it turns out to be Finn Balor's hands. I'll get into more of that in a second. But she keeps texting Dom and all this other stuff and distracting Dom. Dom's actually out there to tell her to stop following me, stop talking to me, and all this stuff. Zelina Vega comes out, is already out there challenging for the Women's World Championship. They get into a bit of a scrap. Rey Mysterio comes out and tries to separate Liv and Zelina. As he does that, Dom pushes over Rey. That rivalry has not gone away. Liv takes this as Dom sticking up for her. When we all know that Dom hates his dad at the minute. But what I'm getting to is what happened. So Liv basically talks to R-Truth, manages to convince R-Truth to give Finn Balor and JD McDonough a World Tag Team title shots, which is a slight issue because Miz is on commentary because there's no Pat McAfee. Now, read into that what you want. I actually think there was some stuff on there about Wyatt SICKS on his show, but I think it's more to do with a family loss. I believe his stepfather has... his father-in-law has passed away.
Right.
And so I think that's actually more about what that is. But... Which is a shame. But she's like...
very sad.
Yeah, Liv kind of makes it out that it's for love for Dom, but then says, can you give Finn Balor and JD McDonough a tag team title shot? Now, surely if it was for love, Liv would be making that match with Dom involved, but that's neither here nor there. what I'm getting to is later on, Damian Priest is going to get his World Heavyweight Championships. He's going to the ring to confront Seth Rollins, call out Seth Rollins, and for ahead of their match at Money in the Bank. But Finn's in there, but Liv's just come out of the room, and Damian does this perfectly. He says, Dom, I hope you've taken care of it. And it's just Finn in there. Now, I've said about, I don't know whether I said it on the show, but I've thought that maybe there's something going on between Finn and Liv Morgan rather than Liv's chasing Dom openly. But actually, is there something going on with Finn and Liv? And does this equate to the World Heavyweight Championship? I don't know. Maybe this will at some point. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that, man? There's a lot going on there. So hopefully I've explained it okay. But yeah, ultimately I feel like there's something going on between Finn and Liv. Bit like with your Rock theory earlier. Just, it seems a bit suspicious that Liv was in there with just Finn Balor.
It does. It seems like, there is something going on there, maybe cooking, just like The Rock would say, between Liv and Finn Balor. It would make it very interesting. And, it all ties in not only with Dom and Ray and, Selena Vega with that segment, but also with Seth Rollins and Damian Priest segment, where Seth had told Damian, hey, listen, I won't challenge you for the title again if I'm not successful, but if I am, you have to leave Judgment Day. Damian Priest agreed. So we're already seeing where Damian Priest, I think, is going to eventually, go away from the Judgment Day. So, it kind of leaves them without a leader. So who's going to take over? And Rhea Ripley is going to come back. And everybody thinks face Liv because of what's going on between Dom, but I think, like you said, there's so many more layers to the story with Finn that because Liv had helped JD and Finn win the tag titles away from Miz and R-Truth. So it makes you wonder, with all the flirtation between Dom and Liv, maybe that's actually some mind games by Finn on Dom to throw him off of what his agenda or both their agendas are. So I think you're onto something.
Maybe Judgment Day doesn't end. Maybe Judgment Day reshapes a bit like the Bloodline has. We have Finn still involved, but maybe Damian leaves and Liv comes in and Mummy comes back, Rhea Ripley, and she's no longer well. I know it's not WWE, and I'm sure a lot of wrestling fans will know this. I only know bits of this, but I know the Bullet Club was a big thing. And it's changed members and new leaders quite a few times, hasn't it? Including, you got Finn Balor there, you got Cody, AJ, I believe, was also a leader.
AJ, yeah.
So, you've got all the elements there. So maybe Judgment Day doesn't end. Maybe it continues but reshapes a bit like the Bloodline 2.0 stuff. I don't know. But yeah, as you said, ultimately we've got new tag team champions. We've got Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Now the WWE World Tag Team Champions there on Raw. What this means for R-Truth and Miz, I'm not sure. In theory, we seem to be in this era again where you do get rematches. So in theory, they should have a rematch at some point. But who knows? But I quite like the bouts on Finn and JD. You need the bad guys to have the bouts in order for somebody good to take it off them.
You need the good guys to chase the bad guys. Like you're saying, I've always found that to be better. That's just me, though.
No, I agree. So there's so much going on, isn't there? That's what I mean. We haven't even mentioned the fact that Alba Fire and Isla Dawn defeated Kitana Chance and Caden Carter. Apparently, I thought it was a title defense. Apparently, it wasn't a title defense. I thought it was.
Yeah, me too. I like Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. I didn't mind them winning the titles back in Scotland at Clash of the Castle. I know you got to watch it. I didn't, but I definitely heard about it.
Yeah, it was cool. I was not expecting it.
Yeah, because Alba Fire, too, went through a huge loss. She just lost her mother, too. And to be able to continue wrestling, I mean, my goodness, you just feel for her and her family. Yeah. And I like this team. I like Dawn and Fire together. And, I like Chance and Carter, but unfortunately for them, they're kind of in this position where they're putting over, which that's not always a bad thing. It's part of wrestling, but they're having to put over a lot of the other talent but rightfully so. I hate to kind of word it in such a way, but I mean, Aladon and Alba Fire deserve to be champions. I didn't mind Bianca and Jade. I thought it was wonderful, but obviously it was a short-term deal, or at least it appears to be. And I love that combination. I think Michael Cole said it was a gory bomb / leg sweep type variation.
Yeah.
I like how they change up the moves a little bit.
Yeah. With the referring to Bianca Belair quickly and Jade, I wonder, in theory they have a rematch. They should have a rematch against the new women's tag team champions, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. So they should in theory have a rematch at some point. I'm waiting for the day where we have Cargill versus Belair, to be honest with you. There's money in that for me, 100%.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
Please take my money.
Take my money. I'm pre-ordering it now. With the Katana Chance.
Give me the match.
Yeah. Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. I didn't see their NXT stuff, so I'm not sure. They're good in the ring. I don't dispute that. It's not quite resonated with me, to be honest. And I hate sitting here and saying that, to be honest, but they haven't really grabbed me as a tag team. I don't know what they can do to fix that. I don't know a lot about them. Maybe I need to know more. It
becomes monotonous, yeah. Yeah, I hate to say it, too. I just think it becomes a little redundant sometimes.
I think I need to know a bit more about them, maybe, as characters.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
And like I say, it's no disrespect. They're very skilled. I just, like you say, it's a connection thing.
Yeah.
Are they connecting?
Now, a year and a half ago, did we connect? We were worried about Judgment Day when Edge left and all that kind of stuff, or whatever it is, 2 years, whatever it is. One of the biggest heel groups currently, at least, and have actually been really good. Shame about Rhea. I understand she's opted out of surgery and she's going to do rehab, so she might be out a bit longer. Or she was meant to do surgery and she was meant to be back. I'm not really sure. But ultimately, but it seems to be Rhea will be heading back around SummerSlam time, is the guess that people are saying. But whether that's true, we'll have to wait and see. Right, man. Now, Wyatt SICKS. Now, did you see their debut?
I did go back and watch at least the debut.
What were your... Because I haven't spoke to you, obviously, on the pod about it, and I haven't really spoke to you about it off-air either, but what were your thoughts of it, the debut, rewatching it, what do you think of it? And also, before we get into what we saw this week, when you saw the debut, what were your concerns, if any?
I didn't know what to make about it because, to their defense, it was still new. And people are going to go, wait a minute, why is it still new? Well, of course, this was Bray Wyatt's concept, and I know it. Bo Dallas is his brother, and Uncle Howdy, that's who betrays him. But it's new in the sense that we've got a lot of people either from NXT or one main star on the roster, one that had returned back to the main roster to be a part of this group. And it was something out of like a little bit of a horror film. You can tell that's always been the inspiration, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. It was a little hard to suspend my disbelief at first because I knew what to expect in a sense, but it was like in a lot of ways I didn't. But I still thought it was cool. Out of respect to his family, I thought it's going to be a nice tribute. The one thing I will say is Roy Gable, seeing him, I mean, it's one thing just seeing like some of the workers down with, beat up or just massacred, and seeing Chad Gable, that added a little bit of because, hey, it's Chad Gable. That's not just anybody laid out. And to see the visual of the door, I will say I get a little misty-eyed when I hear Bray's music, and I love how they're using a certain version of his music. I think it's great for Bray and the family and for all these members who loved him to carry on the legacy. The only thing I would say, and it's not fair to actually say it, is it's going to be tough for him, a tough road, because Bray was so good. He was so innovative, whether you were a fan or not of his in-ring work or from a storyline perspective. I mean, as a person, he was terrific. But I will say, man, it was pretty. If I was going to watch a film, regardless whether it was wrestling or not, I mean, they did a great job with this. I mean, the camera angles were different. I like how they kind of teased each member backstage and they just grouped. So I definitely had to check it out because that's what everybody, whether it was for negative reasons or positive reasons, pardon me, or indifferent, were saying, hey, this is still something to see or behold. And when those lights flashed and you heard the familiar music, it was quite a scene. And I don't have a problem with it other than at least one negative will always be. I'm afraid somebody's always going to compare it to what would Bray do, and but that's with anything. So that's probably not even fair.
Yeah,
and that's my thoughts.
I can see that. My concern, as cool as it was, like you've already said, the camera angles, the production of it was amazing. We saw how the Fiend was treated. The Fiend was awesome for most people, but lost in places that didn't make sense for him to lose. That's my worry here with these lot. Also, at the time of debut, because I'm going to change my stance on this in a moment, but when it debuted, I was like, how are we going to buy into these people with masks on? And, and now I understand. So, it's Dexter Lumis, by what I can understand. Is it Joe Gacy?
Yeah, Joe Gacy.
Yeah, Eric Rowan, Bo Dallas, obviously, and Nikki Cross. Those are the people in the mask. Now, are they going to wrestle in the masks? Are they going to take the masks off? I mean, I'm not saying you can't wrestle in masks, but those masks are very elaborate, so it could be difficult now. But that was my worry at the debut.
It'd be tricky.
Yeah, that was my worry at the debut. Now, I need to mention something very quickly before I get into what I was going to say. When Chad Gable entered the arena, now whether this was done on purpose, I assume it was, the way WWE are working these days. As he was saying, no, don't talk to me, and he was with security, Alexa Bliss's picture was on the lorry behind him, on the big 18-wheelers they use, with the advertising on the side. It was Alexa Bliss on there. So, was that a little Easter egg? Is that something we're going to see down the line? I don't know. That's a conversation for another time. But, as I said...
It makes you wonder, though.
It does, yeah, 100%. Obviously, she was heavily involved with Fiend, so why not? But we'll see what happens. So my worry was how they're going to portray these characters. We don't want them losing their first match, obviously, but we don't want them losing. Maybe they don't even wrestle every week. Maybe they're only there every now and again, more like an attraction. I'm not saying they're the same level as like a Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns, obviously, but that could be a way to go.
It keeps them special, though, if you don't see them all the time. I think if you see any act, I don't care if it's wrestling, music, so much it loses something. Magic, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was my worry watching after the debut, after I stopped to think about it in the week, and I was like, well, this could be tricky. But how this tape we mentioned earlier was delivered, it was then played, and it was Uncle Howdy interviewing, well, so it's Bo Dallas, but I would say that was more real, more himself than actually maybe Bo Dallas as we know him. But Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy, so you got Uncle Howdy kind of talking to, and the way they did this was brilliant. Did you see it by any chance?
I did see this.
It was. Go on.
It was. I mean, like you said, it was brilliant. I'll just borrow from the word you just mentioned, Benny, and it shows you the believability and his realism going back to Bo Dallas.
Yeah, it actually brought up Bray's death as well and how he dealt with it and the timing of all this and all this kind of stuff, and it was.
Yeah, it did. And
sorry, go on.
No, I was just agreeing. I was just answering. I mean, responding like in concurrent because it was, man. This was deep.
It was. I did have the notes of what he actually said. I seem to have lost them, so I can't repeat it word for word. But But what I took away from this, you could argue maybe bringing up Bray's death is a bit thingy, but it's not been quite a year yet, has it? Or is it close to it? It's got to be getting close to it now.
It's been near a year. Possibly.
But what I took away from it, for me personally, I don't know about yourself, was that yes, Bray Wyatt he actually died in August, so yeah, we're not quite a year yet. But that this, like, Uncle Howdy is almost an extension of Bo Dallas, or some sort of creature from beyond wherever this funhouse was in Bray Wyatt's brain, if that makes sense. But by doing it, it also reintroduced Bo very well, I thought, and also gave us some backstory of the way he has felt genuinely. And I honestly feel it was. You could argue, sit here, yes, it was a good promo, and it was Bo Dallas did his promo. I think it was actually him. Obviously, Rotunda himself, sort of talking. If that
I
makes
do
sense,
too.
So, but also, if they do this, with the other characters, where they're having their, not necessarily their horror character, Wyatt SICKS character, interviewing them. Sorry, this was I can't remember his first name. Taylor, Bo Dallas' real name, Taylor Rotunda. I feel it was more Taylor than it was Bo Dallas. But what I was getting at was, if they do this with all the characters, whether on social media or on Raw, whatever, and they have Nikki Cross being sort of spoken to by Uncle Howdy and how he's recruited them, I think that will go a long way in telling the overall story of what this Wyatt SICKS is about, and and why they've joined this family, if that makes sense.
It would help educate the viewers and the fans alike. I mean, that are fans that are obviously watching, is what I meant. But whether you like this or not, I will say it's very fascinating how Uncle Howdy, how the production was with Bo Dallas being there, but how it was really the guy behind Bo Dallas. You saw, it connected with you because when Uncle Howdy, he asked the question, how did it feel when your brother died, referring to Bray Wyatt, you believed Bo's words, and when he answered back, and the most important thing in his life was taken from him. I tried to do my notes too, Benny. I didn't do as well because I'm trying to paraphrase some of this. I mean, that hits home. I mean, those are some real remarks. I mean, I know we're talking about a storyline, but they're blurring the lines a little bit between reality. So it's like this alternate universe, but yet it got brought back down to some believability at the same time.
Yeah, it's if you haven't seen the promo with the video, I recommend you watch it. I was going to try and see if I could play it actually, but I don't think it works for Tyler to hear, so we can't really do it. But it was very well executed, I think. And if they're going to do, I feel like they need to do this, because I know there's been a lot of people following the QR codes and the websites and everything that they did with it. I did to a degree, but yeah, I think it'd be a great for the people that didn't do it, like myself, all of them, like or even just maybe someone who's new to it. It would be a good way of introducing Nikki Cross, Dexter Loomis, Joe Gacy. I know he's was an NXT. I'm not overly familiar with what he's done. So how Uncle Howdy recruited them, all these mystic beings, whatever they're meant to be, through this door from the other side, it'd be very cool. But in terms of booking them, they need to be kind of destroyers, don't they? They need to be.
Yeah, they need to leave a path of destruction, which we saw when they debuted, and yeah, you don't want to overdo that all the time too. And I think they'll find the balance and rhythm.
I hope so.
The videotape idea was, man, it was compelling though. I mean, like I said, whether you like this kind of stuff or not, you couldn't help but be immersed a little bit. Knowing Bray really did pass away, sadly, and knowing he and Bo are real life brothers, and they're carrying on these ideas that Bray had. It's the Wyatt SICKS. It's in this new cast of characters. You talked about reshaping Judgment Day, the Bloodline. There's a lot of that with Wyatt SICKS now. When you start to wonder about it,
it's going to be interesting to see where this goes, and I hope they do it right. But I'm actually if they do, I've already said it, but if they do this thing where they introduce these characters and how they were recruited and why they were recruited, and I think that has been told subliminally, if that's the right word.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, for us, again, I thought that was really good in the reasoning why this is happening, and it's a good start. And if all these other Joe Gacy, Dexter, Nikki do this kind of sit-down interview talking to Uncle Howdy, or even with their respective separate beings, because that's what they're meant to be. They're meant to be something that's meant to be inside them. A bit like the Fiend, where it manifested. It was in Bray Wyatt, but it manifested itself. You know.
Absolutely. I mean, it took some time. I mean, you thought you knew what you were seeing, and then, you know, Bray Wyatt would pull something else out, and we're seeing a similar build. I mean, at least at the first of it, the debut of Wyatt SICKS. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but
either way, I want to see it happen, and I cannot wait for the first time in years. We've said this a few times over the last year doing this show. The last maybe year and a half, we're very much now. I'm very excited to see what happens next, and I want to sit there and see what happens next. You know.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. You know, and I didn't have to buy a ticket. I just watched it on TV or whatever the device. I mean, I'm kind of saying that teasingly, but it's true. I mean, I've also got some sincerity with the humor.
Tyler, as always, good to chat to you. Let us know where we can find your good self on SJP Raw Media and whatever else you are. I know you're doing your Tyler's Takedown and doing some music stuff now, I understand.
Yes, and thank you, Benny. Like I've stated many times, it's always a pleasure to join you on In the Corner. You can find me at Dustin Tyler 86 on X. I always still want to call it Twitter. And I've got at Tyler Takedowns. Now, I know that's confusing because my actual show is Tyler's Takedowns with apostrophe S, but somebody must have had an account similar, so there you go. I know it's a little confusing, but I do have an account for it. And I've got a new show called Tyler Talks Music, along with Tyler's Takedowns. I'm even confusing myself on SJP World Media. And more importantly, check out all the great shows. Benny's involved with a lot with our good friend Cy Powell. And there's so much good stuff over there at SJP World Media, Benny. And hey, In the Corner is a great show. My goodness. We should have started out with In the Corner.
I never heard of it.
That's some of the stuff I'm doing.
What show's that? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and I was about to say it's a hit from what I'm recalling. It's because the great BenNny Mack.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Well, you can find myself at BenNy Mack, BNNYMACK. This show at In the Corner, WWE on X. Also, all the links and all the stuff is below. If you want to join our WhatsApp group and chat some wrestling, you can. That link will be below in this podcast as well. And it's been an absolute blast chatting some more wrestling with you, Tyler. It's always good to chat to yourself.
I mean, this has been a lot of fun.
Oh, hang on. My music's decided to play elsewhere. Let me plug it back into my... There we go. Technical issue right at the end of the show. Why not? At least it's the end. Maybe it's the Wyatt SICKS. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was about to say it's Uncle Howdy. It's Wyatt SICKS taking over wrestling podcast now, not just Raw or Pat McAfee's show.
Yeah. Thank you very much all for listening. Don't forget to follow the network at SJP World Media. Follow myself and Tyler, and we'll see you again very soon for some more WWE talk, news, and whatever else. Tyler, thank you very much, man. I'll see you again soon.
Oh, you're very welcome, Benny, and I'll talk to you soon, my friend.